All right, good evening. How are we all tonight? We doing good? We having a good time? Been a kind of crazy couple days, hasn't it? Let me know if I'm coming through clearly. Looks like I'm on. Okay, the correct microphone is up. Yes. Hurrah. All right, we doing good? Been a banner week for debates, hasn't it? Joe Biden got up there and had possibly one of the worst debate performances I've ever seen in American politics. Let's be frank. I'm going to warm up and talk about that a little bit because it's a thing. And people are talking about it weird. The debate, not good. Biden was unenergetic. He was low energy. He seemed out of it half the time. Uh, it was yes. By contrast, Tyler's was one of the most vicious curb stomps I've seen in my life. But Biden's debate performance was exceptionally poor. And this was obviously an unusual debate, right? It happened in July, well before the conventions, because we've had an unusual presidential season. Um, and a lot of people are saying that Joe Biden should step out of the race. I don't know if that's possible. This has been a problem I've been kind of like privately thinking for myself since like 2012, that Obama didn't do enough to build a backbench for the party for the national elections. Uh, it was horrible. Um, it's just been a long running issue. Like, Joe Biden is not anyone's idea of a good contender in 2020. He's just not Trump. He's just not Trump. And that's kind of what helped him win. It was COVID, and Trump was there, and Trump was bad. Yeah, Obama disbanded his entire volunteer work. He did a very bad job party building, to be perfectly frank. And this has kind of left the Democrats in a lurch. Hillary Clinton has obviously a long-standing situation where she's well known and situated in the party. She was a senator, she was first lady, etc. And she's in New York, and it's a powerful Democratic state. And like it made her a fairly natural choice. Like, a lot of this Bernie Sanders or bust crap was bullshit all along. He was never going to get the nomination, and he got the nomination, he would have lost in at least 49, possibly 50 states. You go lay down. So, you're in a situation where there's not a whole lot of like, there are some obvious choices, but there's not a whole lot of like good choices. Gavin Newsom's been floated, Pete Buttigieg, and like none of these guys are going to beat Trump. You cannot win this election the second time after you've had 4 years of Biden and just be like, well, Trump is bad, we got to beat Trump. I mean, that's true. All of that is true, but it's not going to be good enough, because the fact that Donald Trump exists and continues to exist as a legitimate political force kind of speaks to the fact that people aren't buying the Donald Trump is genuinely an authoritarian argument. Um, or if they do, they don't care. Because there is our good friend Josiah at Pondering Politics loves to make this point that there is a double standard in the media for Democrats and Republicans, where Democrats will not be held or will be held accountable for what they say and do, and Republicans will not. And we've seen a lot of stuff about how Biden should drop out, and I don't think that's going to happen. If it does, I'll be very surprised. But like, we don't see anything about Trump dropping out. And there's this unspoken thing the media has where we do not assume that Republicans will do the right thing. And because of that, we sort of give them tacit approval to not do the right thing. Like, we just sort of let it go when Republicans do like clearly corrupt shit. And then when a Democrat does it, there are calls for the Democrat to resign. There's this whole media thing. It's like there's only one party that's actually expected to be a political party. Well, we'll get to that, Paul. That Biden dropping out is a problem. There is no one to replace him in reality. Kamala's not well equipped. She hasn't been doing the media pushback. They haven't been dealing with the media properly. They haven't, and it shows. Biden's Biden's approval numbers are sitting at an aggregate at 538 of like 37%. Generally speaking, at this point in a election cycle, you want to be at 40-45% approval. The theory is that during the major push between the election, so from the position of the convention, which is early August, on till November, early November election, you will rise up in approval because you'll be doing this big, basically media blitz. But you have to be at the right spot to get there, right? And the numbers for Biden aren't good. His approval rating is low. He is statistically tied with Trump, basically, in an overall for the election. It's not great. It's not time. It's not. I don't want to say it's not time to panic. You should be concerned if you are a Republican, or if you are a Democrat. Excuse me. Your biggest risk of a convention is a repeat of 1968, which the far left has already been threatening since it is in Chicago again. Yeah, I thought that. Like, I don't know why we'd hold a convention in Chicago in the first place. Chicago is going to vote Democratic, regardless of what you do, if you hold a convention there or not. Chicago is reliably Democratic. It will remain reliably Democratic until the sun goes out. I would know. I've lived there a long time. We're also dealing with two candidates of advanced age, and campaigns are very stressful. Possibly neither makes it to November. It's Chicago plus a couple other spots, Palm Dad. It's mostly suburbs around Chicago, but it is Chicago plus a lot of others. You could not, with the city of Cook County alone, do it. There is enough weight down south in the state to change that. That's kind of where the meme of independent Chicago comes from, or rather, independent Illinois, I guess, is a more accurate way of putting it. The tricky part of this here is the situation for Biden isn't good, but there's nothing better available. You should be concerned if you want Biden to win, if you want Democrats to win, or more aptly for most of my audience, if you don't want Trump to win. You should be concerned. However, it's not time to panic yet. 2 weeks after the convention, if we're still having this happen, panic, yes. That's the time to panic. Yeah, well, you're kind of hitting vodka there on a truth of American electoral politics, right? The way we vote kind of makes it so that population centers are the deciding factor in most cases, big population centers. And you have the vast majority of the country lives in either an urban or suburban environment, 80%. And you have a lot of places out there, a lot of places of mostly empty land where very few people live. Like, for example, I'm out here in Colorado now. Colorado's actually a fairly populous state, but the states around Colorado are not. Bad thing is Americans could have Americans sitting on their palm of generations if they're effective. They wouldn't and have to implement socialism. No, they can run the course. They can stay the course in a lot of policies if they were a little bit more aggressive. Well, even media aggressive, I think, is the thing. Well, no, it's not even an endless sea of deep red. It's like spotty red. Like I've talked about this with What a Faultist in the past. He shows that map of counties, right? Or I think it's counties. It's not really accurately labeled. That they're are red and blue, and he pretends like this is a massive like wave that red that could sweep away the blue. It's not. It's not a question of whether or not you can sweep with the blue. It's a question of who lives there. Population, like the population centers, the suburbs, the urban centers, especially the urban centers. America doesn't have a lot of really big cities. Speaking on a world stage, like Mexico City is 20 million people. New York, I think, is 6 or 8. So you have a lot of spaces that you have a lot of people concentrated that make up the vast majority of those Democratic votes and can move those states in the Electoral College in that direction. It might not be enough. I don't want to put down a particular number yet. Estelle, aren't you Canadian? Get out of here with that. Come on. Not going to vote for Biden. We appreciate you not voting for Biden, as that would be illegal. Try that President Sunday nonsense with me. I talk to you guys. I know things. I remember things. So yeah, they need to make some very swift and sure changes right now. Whether or not that involves Biden still running is largely going to be up to the party. Biden mostly. He's won the primaries. There's no real legitimate competition. It's largely up to Biden. He should not have ran. He should have anointed someone to run. And I think that's the problem. I wasn't excited about Biden because it was Biden. I was excited about Biden in 2020 because it wasn't Trump. And like Donald Trump, and here's the kicker on all of this. Donald Trump winning in 2016 should have been kind of obvious to us. We allowed ourselves to think that it wasn't going to happen because we didn't want it to happen. It was inconceivable that we would vote for Donald Trump. But if you kind of look at history and what happens after a long embattled 8 years for a particular party's administration, the other administration typically wins. So 2016 should have been expected. I'm looking at the numbers now. I check them maybe once or twice a week. And if you look at the numbers and you take Biden's approval rating as it's like the only real indicator you have right now. It's too far out for anything else to be meaningful, I think. You look at Biden's approval rating and then you take it and you compare it to other approval ratings at this time. He is in that category of people who lost re-election. It's just not good. And his debate performance was just his debate performance didn't help, and maybe debates don't help. That's a very contested thing that people talk about. Debates mostly just shape narrative, is what the argument is. Whether or not that's true, the fact is that this debate had to help Biden. Biden needed this to go well because it was unusual, it was odd, and it was his to lose, and he lost it. So whether or not the debate had an impact, people are like, oh, the thing is still statistically tied. The debate didn't have an impact. And like, that's the problem. The debate didn't have an impact. It did not help. You're in trouble. You need to do something that changes the dynamic, or you might lose this election. So debates are tricky to begin with, and they're high intensity, high pressure, obviously. But that kind of brings us to the other topic for the night, the primary topic for the night, which has become an absolute hilarious little situation. So West Side Tyler, who we oftentimes steal content from, got himself into a little debate. And I was actually watching stream when this super chat came in. The Lore Lodge guys super chatted him. I think the editor of it super chatted him like $10 or $5 and asked him to come on the show on Thursday. It was like on Tuesday or something. The super chat came in, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he goes on this thing, and it's about the Killdozer video takedown he did. And if you're not familiar with Killdozer is a particularly well-repeated internet story. It happened. It was here in Colorado that it happened. And Killdozer is kind of a tricky thing because it gets repeated in a lot of different websites because it's sensational in a certain way. They totaled $17 in total. That's $17 is a cheap date, but in fairness, Tyler's getting a lot out of this, so I guess he's doing pretty well. But Killdozer, as it is, if you're not familiar with the story of Killdozer, here is my abridged kind of bullshit variant of it. A particular individual in a Colorado town had a number of complaints and disagreements with people and the law in the town concerning civil law, concerning the operation of his business. And so he began secretly modifying a bulldozer into, well, a tank is a generous term. Like, tanks have weaknesses. Tanks have weaknesses. He basically covered this bulldozer in rebar and concrete, and he armed it with some pretty high power small arms and some bulletproof glass and some cameras, and he sealed his ass in this thing, and he rolls out into a rampage in the town, just taking things out, shooting at people, all kinds of shit. And the police respond, obviously, because oh my god, there's a giant concrete bulldozer rolling through town. But the police have small arms. They don't have the kind of firepower that you would need to take this thing out. And you read about this thing, and I'm not entirely certain you could take it out with a tank main gun. uh, this thing is covered in concrete. And like, for example, the power plant in Zaporizhia in Ukraine has concrete doors or concrete plugs and seals on it, and the Russians were pounding on this concrete with tank main gun and couldn't get through it. Concrete is tough. Armor piercing rounds are not like, they require push through. Like, I don't want to talk entirely out of turn. But like, it would be very difficult to stop this thing in most cases. It's like reinforcing things with concrete is a very effective way of making them stay together. But at any rate, the police had no chance to stop this. This thing rolls through buildings and all that jazz. The only thing that stops it is eventually he rolls into a building and there's a basement, and he collapses into the basement and he's stuck. And then they shoots himself, and then they have to spend God knows how long cutting the guy out. It is a ridiculous. Concrete, Estelle, is actually really effective as armor. It's heavy and kind of useless as a mobile armor, but this guy wasn't building something that he expected to leave. He was building something that was very much his tomb. Concrete is very useful so far as stopping things from getting destroyed. If you ever see those nuclear power plants, the towers, they're chimneys. They let out the steam. Those things are designed. They're concrete and rebar, and they're a particular. That's different. You're talking about improvised armor on Shermans. That's different. But you could slam a 747 into those towers on a nuclear power plant, and the 747 would just disintegrate. You're talking about improvised armor on a Sherman tank against a 88 round, or in most cases, or a 74 or 75 round. Those particular problems were that the concrete wasn't, attached or layered on. It was a light load of concrete kind of resting on the tank. It deflects occasionally, and they would do things like logs as well. It would deflect occasionally, but by and large, the improvised armor wasn't terribly effective in any case. Yeah, but you have to. So you're talking about the concept. You're talking about the concept of mobility versus firepower versus protection in armored vehicles. Mobile vehicles have to have a balance between these things. Too much protection, they can't move. Not enough firepower, they're not useful, etc., etc., etc. Bulldozer didn't have that particular problem. Bulldozer was pretty much all concrete. There was no weapon the police were going to find that was going to do anything about that. And again, you're talking about thick layers of concrete on this thing. Like, this was not designed to operate long term, whereas improvised armor is. Didn't have to move that much, and a bulldozer's already got a pretty powerful engine. So Tyler looked into this particular video, and he noted that the individuals in question hadn't really cited their work. Which is, obviously, we've done all this before. We had the H-Bomber guy 4-hour video, which is really good. I recommend you watch it. It's bad for James Somerton and Illuminati, but it's good otherwise. We kind of get into the topic of what is and is not plagiarism, and what is and is not good citing. Obviously, plagiarism is not a crime. It's not illegal. It is a odd subject. It's not illegal, and it's difficult to regulate. Like H-Bomber Guy makes the explicit point in his video that he's not sure he wants YouTube to regulate it because they have done such a bang-up job on copyright law. And I think that's a little unfair. I think YouTube's copyright system is probably the best of all possible solutions that allows the creator economy to exist in the first place. Copyright law is a horrible thing for this particular age of content creation. It's just not well suited for it. It's not well suited for enforcement. It's not well suited. It's not well suited for protection. There is very little I can do about a copyright claim on a video except to get rid of the copyrighted claimed footage. And it happens, particularly on the music. Like the UNATCO theme is used as part of a song, and I think this is used as part of a longer song, which would itself, I suppose, be copyright infringement. But it allows that company to claim it. Good morning, Mr. Flynn. It allows that company to claim it, and I sat on this one because I use the UNATCO theme in my intros. I'm like, well, this is bullshit, but there's not much I can do about it. And like the reason I use video game music is because they don't typically put that into the content recognition system because they want streamers to play their games and, you know, use them and play them through. And if you're getting copyright claimed for everything, you get screwed. For example, though, like the Civil War game we're playing, Ultimate General Civil War, all of its tracks are copyrighted internally. So most people who use that actually mute the music and run their own stuff from like Hearts of Iron or something. I don't, obviously, we don't make money off of this channel yet, so I'm less worried about it now. I'll readdress that in the coming time. So Tyler was invited via being paid by these guys $17. They could have afforded more to have a discussion about this video, and it gets a little wild, and we're going to talk about it and watch it for a little bit and talk about it because Joe Biden is not the worst debate performance of the recent history.
Lodge. Welcome to this pre-Weird Bible discussion. Weird Bible goes live at 7, so this is going to be one little blitz for us of podcasts today. But yeah, we so you know, I think it was last week, right? Last week, earlier this week. I saw a mention in the notifications of our channel that said that somebody had
You've gotten another one today.
Made a video that was titled something along the lines of "The Lore Lodge Killdozer video is really bad." Typically, I don't go looking for channel hate, but in this case, we were mentioned.
So before we begin, it's probably worth looking into the Lore Lodge a little, and I did before this because I was curious. They are kind of doing the true crime Fortean crossover stuff that's become really popular on YouTube, and they do relatively well as a channel. They put out a lot of videos. They have almost 500,000 subs. I opened up a video, and that'll be a topic for another day, but this is a particular realm in which a lot of stuff is questionably sourced. There are a couple channels on this that I love. I love bedtime stories, and they're kind of sister channel wartime stories, for example. I watch Mr. Ballin from time to time, and he does a lot of that. And Mr. Ballin fairly explicitly takes stuff from like older material and retells it. Now I don't know if I think he sources it, at least in the description. And before we kind of get into this, I think it's worth mentioning that the YouTube is kind of the wild, wild west of citation. It probably should have standards, and those standards will have to be creator established and kind of in communities. I know after the H-Bomber Guy stuff came out, a lot of history channels were like, you need to do better on source citing, and they're correct. We do too. We've sourced everything we've used, obviously, but we haven't sourced it well. Like, I have the materials and equipment to use Turabian or Chicago style and haven't. For example, the What If Altist video, we sourced his stuff and we sourced the replies to it, but and we cited it, but it's not cited in a good way because I'm not that good at video editing. I might go back and do it again. I don't know. I'm one person, and Hetman's not much help at video creation, so. And the other example is kind of the video we did on the big butts thing, where you had that 4chan post and like, I don't know how We got people to mysteriously like asses after years of liking boobs. Like, it's weird. And then I just put up a pictures of fertility statues and play it over Sir Mix-a-Lot. Hey Lisa. And like, we sourced I took the websites because I listed when the statues were thought to have come from, and I took the website that I use it and I referenced each individual web page. So things are sourced, and it's not necessarily sourced well. The thing about this is that gets really silly really quick is they cite a specific style, and they don't use this style, but we'll get into that.
So it popped up in my notifications, and we went and we watched it. Tyler here was gracious enough to agree to pop on and talk to us about what his criticisms are and where they came from. And I'd like to know, why us specifically is also probably my big question. But yeah, so he was gracious enough to come on and have a discussion about it. And so hopefully, we can come to some kind of understanding and middle ground and agreement here.
Sure. I don't know. Am I supposed to respond? Are you guys? I'm letting you finish out your intro.
If you want to introduce yourself, yeah.
How live are you guys? Okay. What's up? My name's Tyler Bell. I'm the host. Matter.
I feel that way with conservatism.
Yeah. My biggest things. I talk about arts, culture, and politics. Live stream Monday through Thursday, 1 to 5 p.m. Come check me out. All right. Pretty new. Well, I haven't been doing this for a year yet.
You'll get there. It's a pain in the ass, but it gets there.
Yeah. Right.
We celebrated 3 years this month, and it's been
It is a pain in the ass, but you know what? You can help. If this is your first time watching us, you can subscribe and you can like. It helps, please, really. And we want to break that 500 mark.
Hell of a struggle getting through all of it. So, did I not plug this in? I didn't. Well, Tyler, I mean, just to kind of kick things off here, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I mean, it's so from what I understood, the problem that you seem to have with our video on Killdozer was more in regards to what you perceive to be copyright violations and plagiarism rather than the actual arguments we made. That's what I came to understood.
Yeah. I think you plagiarized from what I read through. And I went through it again today. I did the first 11 minutes. You guys pretty inarguably plagiarized.
So I'm not sure. Did Tyler watch the entire video the first time? I suspect he would have. But like this time he watched 11 minutes is kind of what I'm getting here, which becomes important later in the debate. Particularly because I think, again, the standard that they set for themselves will come up in a minute, right? And that's going to be important.
That chunk, a lot, by most standards of places where I've worked. I used to be a journalist for a while. Obviously, I went to college as well to end up getting that job. So I got a pretty fair amount of expertise with First Amendment law, copyright, plagiarism, ethics codes, journalistic codes of conduct, that whole kit and caboodle. So yeah, you guys made a lot of fairly significant errors. I think of the 11 minutes I saw at the beginning, almost the entirety of it is pulled pretty much from the Tread documentary, I think. And then you didn't seem to cite out from there very much in a way that's actually anyone could follow back to what you're citing to double check to see if it's there.
So the primary reason we use citations in history is that it makes it possible to deconstruct the work you have done so that you can go through and check and see, at the very least, is the information that they're using accurate? Is it based on the what has previously been done? So the plagiarism thing is obviously an important concept. Like it is a matter of courtesy at the very least. It's important. You'll get kicked out of school for it, but it is a matter of courtesy at the very least. But from an academic standpoint, when you're doing a research analysis or you're writing a research paper, the citation's primary purpose is to make it so that your work is checkable. And this is for history important because history is not a science. Such. It's not like I can take an experiment and repeat it and to verify the results. what I have to do is I have to be familiar with the topic at hand and the historiography of the topic at hand, or enough to recognize that there's a problem in a given work and then go in and look at it. If you do not provide accurate citations, then it's impossible to do this. Which is why the good enough citation style that pervades YouTube can be a problem. But in most cases on YouTube, what you will find, Paul Fletcher, the absolute classic of, yes, that's an excellent point. That's a historiography point as well, because Naomi Wolf was not familiar with what she was writing about. She took a phrase and transhistoricized it, and got it wrong and got eviscerated for it. Yeah, it makes it possible to reconstruct your work, because you're not doing a traditional science type experiment. You are doing something that requires like peer review, and that's how your peers review it. So, for example, we do all the time. Everyone looks into a what if altist video, and he lists all these books that he didn't actually read. And he lists them all to make it seem like his arguments are complex and nuanced. But he never links the listings to anything on screen, so you can't follow it. And this is this is the classic YouTube citation thing, where you think you've done the thing, and or you act like you've done the thing. James Somerton did it in his videos. We found out in the H Bomber Guy video, for example. This is that classic YouTuber bad citation thing. The standard that people are talking about, and it's a standard we are going to adhere to going forward, particularly for the Israel-Palestine essay and the upcoming patron essay, are going to be Turabian citations, and they're going to be linked in the description. So there'll be an on-screen citation, and that citation will be numbered, and then in the description, it will be numbered as well. So you can go into the video description, see the citation, see the page, or if it's from a website or a source that we can give you a physical hyperlink to, there will be a hyperlink. That was our decision. Additionally, if there's space, because I only have 5,000 characters, I will try to include everything I looked at but did not actually reference. Because we've been doing a stupid ton of research on Israel-Palestine, and it's going to be fun for you. We're going to solve the whole conflict. You just watch.
Or not, so
All right.
that would be my major contention.
Could I?
And I've got time codes too, so if I can go through
so if
time.
you could specifically tell me what it is that I said that you're claiming was plagiarized.
Okay. Well, here's a really fucking easy one. Go straight to the 11 because it's almost shot for shot. And I can share these YouTube codes. But at 11 minutes and 13 seconds, Matt Reed, picture stolen from Tread. So you guys did do a copy. It seems almost every single one of the headshots you used, or a vast majority of them, particularly for the interviews with the information you guys can only get from Tread, you just took screenshots of those individuals that they interviewed in that movie and then used them as headshots in your own documentary. So that's there. But let's see. Stolen. The quote is also stolen from Tread. He would take stock steel and bend it to every machine. Tread, and this is at 11 minutes and 13 seconds. In Tread, at 6 minutes and 38 seconds, you have actually that same go through. So you actually read off exactly what the interviewees are saying. And it's actually so shot for shot that you included the space before and after they switch from one interviewer or interviewee to another. So it actually goes from the quote to the quote. So if you play those videos next to each other, you can actually hear ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da, and then you paraphrasing what they're saying. You wrote it at least like that. But also you don't say that specifically you got that information from Tread, which is a lack of citation. That enough?
So that right there is going to be sufficient in getting you in trouble. It's right there. As a rule, when you're writing this in an academic essay setting, you need to take pains to indicate the thing. Like, even if you're putting in a citation, I will reference, when I write, I will reference the person who said the thing. So, for example, Rashid Khalidi said blah, 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 Khalidi, page number, etc. That's the short citation format that I'm kind of half referencing there. You want to make it painfully clear right before the quotation marks begin that you are quoting a thing. that you are taking yourself as the speaker and the writer and illustrating it that you're doing this, because it leaves a ability for the reader to become given the impression that you are having this information, and that's not the case.
As a single instance would be enough to, in some cases, get you expelled from most colleges for being not above board and for plagiarism. It's raw plagiarism, unfortunately.
So I would contend then that this might be a difference between journalistic writing and historical writing. My background is in history. I'm a historian. I use historicist methodology, and
Oof. Okay. There is no significant difference, none, in the requirements for citation for history. It does not matter. It doesn't matter what set of citations you use, because there are different schools and classes that require you to use different citation formats. For example, I did some classwork at SNHU, and they require, for the college, requires their classes to have APA has a format for your citations. However, if you work in their history department, some of their instructors will require Chicago, or more accurately, Turabian style. Turabian is basically Chicago format, but it's slightly simplified. Like, the differences are such that on a first glance, unless you're a very specific kind of pedant, you would not know the difference. Like, you wouldn't be able to say, oh, this is Chicago style versus Turabian style. It is kind of, Turabian is a simplified format that's designed particularly for researchers and students who are not publishing work. So, like, if you're doing something for publish that's going to be going to a journal, use Chicago is the general rule of thumb. If you're not, you would use Turabian. I was looking for my Chicago style manual. It's old. It's like 2017-ish. I think that's the most recent one anyway, though. But I do have my Turabian manual up here. So, like the citation format is like, the Turabian book itself is kind of like a how-to guide for students to write a research paper, and it includes in it, apart from the citation formats, it includes like notes and how do you write the paper type stuff, so that you can write an effective paper. It is very useful. Historicism is not a citation style. Historicism is kind of an underpinning thought of methodology. It does not change what you're doing or the requirement for citations. And it's like worth talking about historicism in a different context, because that is, the thing. It is a forwarding of the importance of history in your understanding of the world. It is probably the most basic way of putting it.
And I typically, when I'm writing essays, I use Chicago style citations. So,
okay, you did not use those here. Do an example. Let's just do the movie example. Let me find that in the book real quick. I'm going to use the Turabian book. It's basically the same. If we are citing a video, websites, blogs, social media, interview, personal communications, papers, lectures, manuscript, older works and sacred works, reference works, and citations. Sources in the visual and performing arts, 9.10. Or 1910, excuse me. All right, here we go. So citations of movies. In the reference list, cite a movie under the name of the director, after the date, the year the movie was released or created or otherwise made available. Give the title of the movie in italics, followed by the name of the company that produced or distributed it. You may include a publication date for the recording. Include information about the writers, actors, producers, and so forth if it is relevant to your discussion. Finish with any relevant information about the medium. If you watch it online, include a URL. And then give some examples. Kubrick, Stanley, director, 1964. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, featuring Peter Sellers, George C. Scott, and Sterling Hayden. Columbia, 1 hour, 34 minutes. HTTPS, Amazon.com. That's just the. In the text, you include information about the timings in the form displayed with the source. So that's where you would include the time codes that you would put it up. Kubrick, 1964, 01143 to 01454. Information about ancillary material included with the movie should be woven into the text with a parenthetical reference referring to the movie as a whole. This is why Turabian is useful, by the way, for writing, especially if you feel like writing and you're going to school. You feel like writing is your weak point, because Turabian kind of tells you how to do the thing, so you don't have to think through the thing, and it tells you how to format it. It basically teaches you the appropriate style, so you don't have to learn it. This is largely similar to how it's formatted in Chicago style. There are differences. Like I said, a particular pedant would be able to put that through to you. Looking through this, they do not include Chicago style references. They don't include them in the text. They do not include them in the description. I don't think necessarily that you have to be a stickler for academic referencing into video essays. You probably should. It's obviously not done. By and large, though, more important to get some kind of citation in there, I think, than it is to get perfect citations. But if you're going to say that I use a specific citation style, you sure as hell better use that citation style, because that's so easy to look up. And once you don't do it, you're cooked. This is nonsense. This is the kind of stuff that would get you an F at minimum and kicked out of school.
What I would say to you is this: is the way I did everything here is perfectly in line with historical methodology and historical writing. Now,
no, it is not. Absolutely is not.
Okay, what is that? What is that? And what is
what I say?
What is historical?
Club member.
What is that, and who cares that it exists? So what is that?
Historical community.
Which one? The entire.
If I were to take this and put this before the committee of Twitter historians, they'd tear it apart. They would absolutely just cut it. I'm not even gonna bother. Like, again, like they know who I am. They talk to me. I know exactly what they'd say about this. Most of the Twitter historians would be like, what the fuck is he talking about? This is absurd. You cite your works. There's no special citation that a creation of history writing that allows you to not cite your work.
Higher one, earthwide.
Historicism is basically the oldest methodology within history, and it's the most consistently used.
So we're talking like Herodotus, like I heard it in a dream from a guy?
I'm talking about the German and English historians and the American historians of the 1800s, when the field of history was being pioneered into an actual academic field rather than a hobby for the rich.
Okay, so like what you're using.
That's technically like correct, but not what we're talking about here. We're talking about your citations.
Citations from back in the day.
No,
what school would
Thursday Club member Matt Reed? People would bring their rigs to him, and Heemeyer would quote take stock steel and bend it custom to every machine. Now, throughout the video, I do in fact, it's not necessarily in the first couple of minutes, but I do repeatedly reference the fact that we had used the documentary Tread as a source, and that many things in this came from Tread. And I say, as said in Tread, and as this person said in Tread.
So
that's not citation. That's just not it.
We can hop into that right now. I think I counted maybe 2 times that you did that in the first 11 or so minutes. It might be 3 if I missed one.
It's a total of 15 throughout the entire video.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about the entire video.
Okay, that's a huge problem. The video is like an hour long at least. What was it? Let's look. Every single time you do this, you have to cite it. It's not once. It's not like I cited it 15 times. That's plenty. Let's look. Let's make sure I'm not crazy. You were lied about Killdozers. An hour and 16 minutes. It has 1.3 million views. Very impressive. Probably as a result of the fact that it's gotten some play for being. Yeah, they don't have a whole lot of videos that reach that. There's another one. CIA Hide the Truth History of Humanity. A lot of missing 411. That's a whole different genre of a weird.
I don't need to go that far to the part where you're breaking basically every code of ethics that exists for everyone except for your made up personal whatever your.
Yeah. I don't. You've lost. It's over, Laura Lodge.
Historicity.
Made up or personal. This I'm telling you right now.
Well, who? Okay, if it's not made up and personal, who of valuable academic note uses your methodology at all?
I think Tyler messed up a little bit here. The question is not who uses the methodology. The question is who cites sources in this way. How do you cite this source? Well, I don't remember. It's Paul something. What is the name of the 411 guy? Someone in chat will remind me. He's a retired sheriff, and he does these investigations, and they are of disappearances in and around North American national parks. I don't know. What is it? Missing 411 guy. It might not be Paul. David Paulides, that's it. Okay. I was thinking Paul Atreides because someone wants me to watch Dune. And he goes around, he researches these things, and they're kind of campfire story-ish things. Like, for example, the YouTube channel Bedtime Stories has done a couple stories about missing 411 stuff. And they have cited Paulides and they have talked about some of the problems with Paulides' work. Kind of the stuff he leaves out of his accounting of things, it adds an air of mystery to them. It's they're I like this kind of content as a like brain turn off type stuff. It's fun. It's fun to turn off the lights and watch, a scary or a mysterious story. It gets a little weird when you take it seriously, but other than that, it's fun stuff. I like Nuke's Top 5 too. That's even more silly.
That should be off the top of your head, because when I say my type of citations, I can say literally.
Yeah, you're mixing methodology and citations here.
Every journalist in America that uses the AP style guide can use that.
Meineke, Eggers, Giambattista Vico, Leopold von Ranke.
Okay, here's the problem. Again, we're reaching, like, you're talking about historicism, not a citation style. Citation styles are things like MLA format, APA, AP style guide, Chicago style, Turabian. All of these things are citation formats. They are recognized, and so that you inside of their own disciplines where they're used as the appropriate citation style. You're just listing off historians who have happened to study history. That's not the same thing as what we're talking about here. The question on offer is who uses your particular citation style is what I would ask. And the answer is plagiarists. Plagiarists use it. It's because it's not a citation style.
Ernst Trilch, Mark Bevier, J.G.A. Pocock, Benedetto Croce, Quentin Skinner, Wilhelm Dithe, R.G. Collinwood. Would you prefer that I continue going on?
No, because none of those names mean anything to me or
none of those names are about citations. Like, enough.
Anyone else. So that's just completely fucking useless.
Tyler, because you're a journalist. The name Julian Assange doesn't mean anything to historians.
Well,
what do you mean the name Julian Assange doesn't mean anything to a historian? First of all, theoretically, you are an historian. Second of all, Julian Assange is one of the most infamous intelligence asset intelligence agents of this century. He means quite a lot to most historians. More to the point, he means quite a lot to people broadly. I mean, come on. Wow. Like he was just in the news and he was just in the news for getting released and everyone and their mother had an opinion on it. Like, what are you talking about?
When you're doing a fucking documentary, maybe you should try to stick with the journalistic methodology of the people whose material you're literally ripping off to create what you wanted to rip off or create.
Okay,
so what part of historicity and historical tradition?
Tyler, I'm trying to explain to you that the way I wrote this was not in line with journalistic standards. I wrote this.
Wait, it's not in line with
the way you wrote this wasn't in line with any standards.
Any academic standards of any reputable academics I know on earth. It's just theft. It is just theft.
In the video, on 15 occasions,
which by the way, it's an hour and 50.
Unless you only used 15 occasions worth of material, that's not good enough.
15 minutes long.
Yes, that means essentially more than once every 10 minutes.
More than once every 10. You have to cite every fact, Aiden. You have to tell people where you got shit so they can look it up for themselves, you goof.
I in fact did, and I gave the exact articles I got things from.
Where? Oh, I love this one. I looked this up. You put it behind a $1 paywall.
Nope. Tyler, I said, according to a June 10th, 2004 article by Tanya Bina at Sky High News.
When in the documentary? Give me a time code.
I don't have a time code. I'm reading you directly from the script.
Okay, I don't care about the script. I didn't read the.
Yeah, we're not using the script. We are using the video.
Script. I watched the video.
Yeah,
give me a time code in the video.
Clear that you didn't do anything, Tyler.
No, it's very clear I did because I can start reading you the time code.
I mean, he did. He made a whole ass stream segment on it. That's not nothing.
Codes of the individual facts you needed to have cited bit for bit, and you did not because you stole information from a documentary. You stole it. You stole it. Did you do the groundwork to interview the people? Did you go to their houses? Did you sit down and videotape them? You did not, and you know you're wrong. By the way, to quote someone real quick, can I just bring this down? Proverbs 28:1: The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. You are hearing me roar into your fucking ears right now. You are the one who.
Why? He just quoted the Bible. Not only did he quote the Bible, but he provided a citation.
Placed your fleeing, your cowardice at the beginning because you knew you did wrong, and so you tried to excuse yourself right off the bat. Answer to that.
There's nothing to answer to, Tyler, because
there is tons to answer to. You did not do the work. Another man did, and then you snatched from him the fruits of his labors.
Real quick. Tyler, quick question.
Yeah.
If you're critiquing something, considering the majority of the video that we created was critiquing the documentary.
It doesn't matter. This is like, okay, if you're critiquing a thing, you still have to cite the thing. Like, again, like, here's my critique. Here's where I got the information from, and here's the thing I'm critiquing. It is very much a thing you still have to cite.
How are you supposed to do that other than cite the documentary?
You use it referentially.
You didn't cite the documentary, first of all. I read off to you how you cite the documentary in Chicago style.
During it. This is all established in the four clarifications, the four things that you need for fair use, which you guys did not necessarily do. The effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work is one of the most important of the four. You guys restated the entirety of the documentary that somebody.
Yeah, it just that. You've restated a documentary, I guess. And you think you're doing the other thing. We're not going to watch this whole thing, by the way. It's long. It's already an hour in.
Else did.
Well, Tyler, Tyler, be quiet for 3 seconds. How would you possibly know that if you didn't watch the entire video?
Except he did. He just said he didn't. He only rewatched the 11 minutes here. And I'll ask him. about it too. Like, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened. Is he rewatched 11 minutes prior to the debate because he's not going to watch a whole hour and 14-minute abomination all over again. Like, his point was made.
I don't need to watch the entire video.
Yes,
I need to watch where you fucking plagiarized. Once you've plagiarized, why would I?
Yeah. Plagiarism doesn't, like, there's no, you've taken my plagiarism out of context. That's not how it works. You get the point. This is just, you know, a significant amount of the other half of it. So this has continued to escalate. This has continued to escalate, going beyond that. Why are we talking about this now? Well, it's funny, first of all. But ultimately, we're talking about it because at least one of the parties in the Lore Lodge is threatening to sue Tyler for defamation. This has become genuinely hilarious. Let me pull up the other crap. Massive YouTuber Lore Lodge is threatening to sue me over the video I'm dropping tomorrow. You better check it out. Well done, Tyler. Way to ride the dragon. Damn shame they choose to bully smaller creators with legal action instead of admitting to their faults. All right, you'll be hearing from our lawyer. We'll work this out in court. And then they later posted For the People, which is a fairly large online law firm-ish thing. Yo, do y'all do defamation cases? I'd like to sort of sit here on the irony of these apparently very successful YouTubers deciding that they're going to pursue a legal case and do so by adding folks at Twitter publicly. That's clearly a good strategy. What I think is happening here is that Lore Lodge is attempting to intimidate Tyler into silence, because they know they don't have a case. Like, even if they hadn't plagiarized, they still wouldn't have had a case. Here. Like, it's just blatantly obvious. Like, defamation requires damages. And this is one of their most viewed videos. They're not going, like, they might send a cease and desist letter, which Tyler can go tell them to get stuffed. But this is threatening someone with a slap suit in order to suppress speech. This is embarrassing for Lore Lodge. Did they name the professor? I think they did. I had to bounce out early of the debate to start my own stream yesterday. Or Sunday's coverage of the debate to start my own stream yesterday. So I don't know if they did. I would have not done that. More to the point, it's not like you have one professor. You have a bunch of professors in undergrad. Like, the odds that one history professor are going to have a severe impact that's not, lol worthy, is you're at a very small school with no history department to speak of. Well, maybe he's done it more recently. Apparently his degree is from 2020. History departments are kind of getting slammed all over the place. You might have like 4 or 5 professors left at some schools. I don't know. People are having a really hard time finding academic jobs now. Yeah, don't name your professor when you're about to be an idiot. That's a bad plan because your professor, like this professor's gonna go, holy shit, this stupid ass undergrad is now trying to sink me with him. He's gonna load you into a cannon and fire you into this. Any professor would. They are not. They are not going to be okay with that. Oh my god, if he did that, oh, he's gonna get so roasted. Just absolutely roasted. Yeah, they're threatening to sue Tyler. Tyler probably understandably is a little stressed. I would be too. Uh, even putting these suits forward is expensive, and fighting them is even more expensive. We'll see what happens. I suspect, given that this kid is unwilling to give up his little silliness, I suspect that what's going to happen is he's going to he's probably going to try to do some YouTube copyright system screwishness and try to claim it tomorrow. We'll watch. We'll see what happens. This is old school YouTube. DMCA takedown stuff is old school YouTube. If you remember back in the early aughts in late aughts 2010s, the atheist YouTuber scene and Venom Fang X and may he rest in peace, GPR Jones, and may he get a little bit on his head out of his ass, Thunderfoot. You remember that whole thing? That was my first YouTube drama, by the way, that I ever witnessed. It was buck wild. There were Batman suits. It was the thing. And Joker, like the Dark Knight, was pretty well new at that time. The Joker, a Heath Ledger Joker impression came out, all by Venom Fang X, who was a particularly crazy fundamentalist Christian. I don't know what his grift is now. I think he's still like grifting, but very quietly elsewhere after the thrashing he got. We shall see. But that is where this is at. I have tagged Lore Lodge, and they have answered me. So they're not very good at damage control if they're willing to pick a fight with a 400 sub channel. That's a bad plan. Just ignore me. You should have just ignored me, guys. I know you're watching. You should have just ignored me. It's funnier this way to be sure, but you should just ignored me. I'm right, but I usually am. That's kind of the benefit of being me. The other thing I did see that they're like, oh, Tyler's so hard to get a hold of. I'm like, really? That's weird. I got a hold of Tyler all by myself right before this stream, like 2 hours or so ago. He's actually not that hard to get a hold of. You know who's hard to get a hold of? Sunday, and I work with him regularly. Yeah, I am absolutely positively tiny. I'm a horrible YouTuber, by the way. I am. I don't have a regular schedule. I don't have an upload schedule. I do what I want. It's a miracle we've gotten to 470 subscribers. Like, it shouldn't have happened. I'm an awful YouTuber. Ignore me. Don't. I am not consequential in any way. just ignore it. Just let it go. But here you are. We'll have fun. We'll have fun if you want to have some fun. I will bring my Bible out too. I am so that's pretty much it for the evening. I don't want to belabor the point. We got where we need to go. There's no particular thing. Tomorrow we're going to continue the playthrough the Battle of Antietam in Ultimate General Civil War. There is a let's see what else is happening. We're going to try to talk with Hetman this week. We have a whole bunch of topics on the burner, and my willingness to let him study Russian in perpetuity is waning. So that will be the plan going forward. I wish you all a happy day and a good night. Join us tomorrow